So it'll be very interesting that that you're doing this podcast about hardware, because there's like very little literature or thought leadership available anywhere. Our hero product is a stove, and while stove is never seen being it's always in the background, but without a stove you can't cook anything, right? So I strongly feel that we are the salt, and we want to be the salt. We don't want to be upfront coming and saying, "Hey, this is what I built." I think the first one, we have about 25,000 restaurants we automated. There's no US kitchen automation company that has automated 25,000 restaurants. We have consistency and quality of food became very, very difficult to maintain. I was not getting the same golden color, crisp, smiling dosa out, and people would say, "Yaar, maza nahi aa raha hai. This is not what your Nungambakam outlet is selling. This is a very different." I said, "Ki yaar, if Italians built a coffee machine, and if somebody else built something for their own food, I think we Indians should solve for a dosa machine. We should not be relying for a American company to do it. So let's build a dosa machine for my own business." That's how it took long. I thought it'll take 3 months, but it took 3 years to build a dosa machine to get a crispy dosa that was like. I think best way to build a business is don't go and ask the customer what problem you have, because then only the stated problems come out, and everybody is listening to those stated problems. If you solve, you are doing as good as what everybody else is doing. We need to solve the unstated consumer needs, unmet consumer needs, right? For which they feel that, hey, they never knew that solution like this exists. I'll give you a very simple example. When you cook any Italian or European dish, you don't burn your garlic, you brown your garlic. But in India, till people, it's called burnt garlic fried rice, right? You want to and जब तक 4 लोग खाते नहीं, you don't feel कि कुछ मजा आया खाने में बनाने में. आज like मसालादार दमदार cooking होता है हमारा. So the chimneys have to build for that.
In today's episode, we are joined by Eshwar Vikas, co-founder and CEO of Beyond Appliances, a company that's taking automation to the kitchen. They build and sell automated stoves, roti makers, and chimney systems. After selling over 20,000 units and raising about 16-17 crores in funding, Beyond Appliances is on track to close FY25 with close to 5 crores of revenue. Building a hardware startup is not very easy, especially in India. You need to crack distribution, manufacturing, product, and scale. Eshwar is a second-time entrepreneur in some sense, although his first company and this remain quite interlinked. He had co-founded Mukunda Foods, and he's been building in the space, but more from a B2B perspective. So join us today as we speak to Eshwar about the hard realities of hardware, lessons from his journey, and what it takes to build a business in India. Eshwar, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Aviral. I think it's very interesting that I think the focus of this podcast is about building hardware, because you rarely get to hear about how to build a hardware tech startup. There are like tons of lessons and podcasts available about SaaS, about tech, and about consumer, and all about things. In fact, when this is my second company, right? But when I started Mukunda Foods, it was like totally greenfield. Nobody knew how to do hardware business. We failed so many times. We built so many things. So it'll be very interesting that that you're doing this podcast about hardware, because there's like very little literature or thought leadership available anywhere.
Yeah, we are trying to bring out stories that are less discussed and visible, but very important. So will be interesting to talk about this. We'll start with a rapid fire. What's the most unexpected place you found inspiration for a business idea?
The most unexpected place was when my wife used to spill milk every day at home when she was getting ready for work.
Okay.
And we would blame on each other. Yeah, you do it, I do it, you do it, I do it. That's when I felt, hey, why can't we just solve for this? We have solved for so much. We have put Teslas on the road. We have put like technology everywhere. We have AI and all, but why can't we just stop milk from overboiling? That's when I felt, yaar, yahan pe kuch karna chahiye. We should sort of take care of this
automation
difficult thing. Yeah.
If you could swap lives with any Indian entrepreneur for a day, who would it be?
Oh, easily Dipinder.
At Zomato?
Yeah, of course.
And why?
I think huge respect for that guy because, of course, what he has built and many people have built, but revolutionizing two industries with a very people-first approach, very closely working with people for bringing out the best in them and then scaling out the business is like a very there's no right or wrong, but that's an approach which I strongly believe is going to be like a very long-term effect rather than something where, Steve Jobs comes and says, I'm the genius, I know how to build stuff. While here, I think it's like, hey, you are the genius. I'm going to give you a great ecosystem and stuff to work. So you please go ahead and do.
That's very well said, actually. Interesting. If you had to describe your company's hero product as a dish, what would it be and why?
Okay. I didn't see that coming. Yeah. I would say the hero product. I would say the hero. It's a salt. I would say it's a salt.
Okay.
Primarily because our hero product is a stove. And while stove is never seen being it's always in the background, but without a stove, you can't cook anything. Right.
Well said.
So I strongly feel that we are the salt and we want to be the salt. We don't want to be upfront coming and saying, hey, this is what I built or this is my product. It's okay to be the wind beneath your wings. And we want you to cook, you, your wife, your mother, yourself to cook and do great food and get shabashi for that. And we just want to be in the background.
What's one truth few people agree with you on?
Yeah, so you might have expected that, always people say, yeah, don't build hardware products in India and sell in India. Go and sell it in US where you can make a bigger gross margin, where acceptance is very high, where you will be able to sell a lot. But hey, look, we have been here for this is my second hardware company. I think the first one we have about 25,000 restaurants we automated. There's no US kitchen automation company that has automated 25,000 restaurants. We have, and now with the consumer smart appliances for home, again, many people said, hey, go to US and sell, go to Middle East and sell. But I think Indian consumer is really difficult to understand. But once you understand her, then she'll embrace you with open arms and you'll be able to sell a lot more in India very easily. So I'm a very strong believer that once you understand the Indian context and build an India playbook, you'll be able to really do big work in India rather than go to US and sell your products.
Understood. Talk us through your journey. You started a company in college itself.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up? Where was the entrepreneurial influence? What's your story before you started your first company?
So I was doing engineering in Chennai in this college called SRM University, where there was a lot of freedom for students to do whatever they want apart from work, apart from studies. So yeah, I started saying that, hey, look, I might want to do an MBA someday, so let me go and get some hands-on work right now. Anyways, engineering was a little boring for me. So I joined as an executive assistant to a very large company CEO. So I used to do 8-10 hours work with him and then 6 hours of college kind of a work. So he used to have mining business. He used to have some manufacturing, warehousing, export, spa, a whole array of things. So I used to do that. And then that's when I realized that, hey, it's very interesting to do build out businesses. And that's how Mukunda Foods happened, my first business, where we actually started it as a QSR business, not as a kitchen automation business. I was not able to scale my QSR because getting consistency of food as I scaled became a challenge. That's when I moved to technology, where we said, hey, technology should cook food rather than the way it is happening today. That's when we built a product called Dosamatic, which some of you might have heard. It's
This is which year?
2015-16.
2015-16. So you started in 2012. It was a QSR kind
3
of
years
business.
ran it as a QSR.
Okay. And what were you selling in the QSR? What
So
was?
it was the McD's answer for in India, right? McD would sell burgers, sandwiches,
Uh,
and Coke and fries and stuff. So we said, let's do dosas and idlis and vadas and
hmm.
filter coffee.
Okay.
Very nice outlet, bright lights, large screen, nicely just staff where you walk in, get a coffee in get a thali in like 2 minutes and walk out. Very hot, fresh. Uh, that kind of a concept. It ran well, Aviral. My first outlet did really well. That's when I said, Ki yaar, abhi to we should make like more outlets, sell more food, and maybe then I can buy a Ferrari and retire very, very fast. But then life had other plans that never came through, because once we went to my second, third outlet, consistency and quality of food became very, very difficult to maintain. I was not getting the same golden color, crisp, smiling dosa out, and people would say, "Yaar, maza nahi aa raha hai. This is not what your Nungambakam outlet is selling. This is a very different food. So why don't you do something about it?" That's when I said, "Okay." It's humanly impossible for a person to cook same quality and consistency of dosa 24/7, right? Just think about it. It's like a hot, difficult to stand environment. Add to it Chennai sultry weather, and it's like really, really difficult. That's when I said, okay, let's make a machine for it. Let me buy a machine. That was my instinct, but there was nothing available. And I said, here, if Italians built a coffee machine, and if somebody else built something for their own food, I think we Indians should solve for a dosa machine. We should not be relying for a American company to do it. So let's build a dosa machine for my own business. That's how it took long. I thought it'll take 3 months, but it took 3 years to build a dosa machine, to get a crispy dosa that was like, just imagine in Chennai, if you had to convince somebody this is a great dosa, your standards are already so high, right? So it was very difficult for us to get it. Once we got that, I think that's when things became interesting. A lot of restaurant owners started coming to me, Avril, and said, "Can you sell this machine to us? uh, we have same problem. We are not able to scale my business because getting a dosa master or a chef to make dosas consistently at scale is a huge challenge." That's when I thought to myself, hey, look, instead of me building a McD, why don't I power every other restaurant to scale? Because the reason why India doesn't have a McD equivalent is not because we don't want to, but it's because we don't have the right kind of tools. The entrepreneurs need to have the right kind of tools. So started with Dosamatic. Then a lot of, I think the Indian F&B ecosystem in 2017 started to explode, right? You had Fasos, which was becoming Rebel Foods. You had Wow Momo that was going to take off. You had a lot of the restaurants just trying to go up the ladder. That's when all these restaurant owners, Indian F&B entrepreneurs came to me and said, "Can you build what, the equivalent of a dosamatic to a biryani, to a burger, to idli, to a uh, Indian dal makhani, to a chai?" So that's when we sort of, to cut a long story short, in Mukunda, we built over like half a decade automated biryanis, burgers, sandwiches, dhoklas, fried rice, noodles, starters, soups, gravies, Indian breads, so all that stuff, and put this out in like 20 or 1,000 restaurants. Uh, that was a growth story for how a hardware idea sort of bloomed. But whenever I put a dosamatic out there, many would come to me and said, "Hey, can you build something for home? Why are you not doing something for home? Ghar ke liye kuch banao." And I had met Mr. Kavaljit from Fireside also for funding one of these during my Mukunda journey. He said, "Yeah, this is great, but I think do something for consumer. I think there's a very, very big market and availability there." I didn't do that for a long time, not because I did not want to, but I wanted to build a profitable, established business before I could do the next thing. It's very easy to chase behind opportunities, right? There are like so many opportunities. I wanted the business to be a bit positive. I wanted a L1 team to be in place. I wanted some of the best brands to be using our products repeatedly across every outlet. For example, Haldiram's is my customer. It's not that Haldiram's ke ek outlet where my machine is there. 100% of Haldiram's outlet has my machine. There would not be a Haldiram outlet without my machine. Build that kind of product and dependability and fantastic after sales service. So uh, you know what you're doing. And then then I started my consumer journey.
I see. Do you think today also there are machines for like a dhokla or a samosa or even a dosa? I mean, apart from yours, how proliferated is this? And is that the bottleneck for India to not have a McD equivalent of, for let's say, dosa or a samosa, or things that are
I think
almost
samosa is an interesting example. If you look for a very long time, to buy samosa, you'd go to a halwai or a very small outlet. The street side, he keeps making samosas. Um, it's not that brands did not want to do, but there was no automation or tools available. But once we got it, now you see a lot of brands, at least in the last 2.5 years, I can think of 3, 4 brands who have close to 100 outlets each, who have, think about Samosa Party, Samosa Singh, even Haldirams, even
right,
Samosa in Mumbai. So I think now that explosion will start to happen, but it will take its own time. Like McD
right,
was also not built overnight. It took
of
like
course.
few decades for that to happen. I think first the consumption story in India will increase. Brands will sort of grow in India, and then they would go maybe abroad, hopefully.
Understood. What's been the hardest part for you to shift from a B2B to a B2C business? And you're going from like a professionally run kitchen to a household. Very different ball games, very different emotions. What's that journey been like?
Uh, First, let me tell you what we kept constant. We said ki even in when we did consumer, we did not say that uh, the machine will cook for you. We said you will cook, the machine will help you, right? When I did my research, 90% of India, that's the middle class and sort of upper middle class India, the women of the house is taking responsibility of the kitchen, be it in metros, non-metros, tier 1, tier 2, across the spectrum. So we said, yeah, she's the one who needs to cook. The machine will not cook, right? Because she knows how to cook, right? And we should help her, was the whole thesis behind it. The second thing I think, which is more the challenging part of it was, and I think this will many people might face when we do the B2B to B2C kind of a shift. B2B is you spend a lot of time creating demand and then you start perfecting your ops. B2C, I was hit with a brick on my wall because demand is just there. You just need to execute well, right? If B2B is maybe a weekly executional game, matlab, if I ship a machine to a customer and say, hey, it's delayed by 1 day, he'll be like, theek, it's fine, doesn't matter. But here, it's an hourly game. You said 11 a.m., you have to deliver at 11 a.m., right? You want your installation person to be at 12, he has to be at 12. So it's a very different world altogether. If you have PMF, see, if you don't have PMF, it's a very, very different story. एक बार PMF हो गया, in B2B, you need to sort of do advocacy. Hey, go talk to people, say that, hey, this brand is using, why don't you use, take them out for dinners, and continue to do that.
Yeah, it's a sales
B2C,
process, basically.
it's a sales process, right?
Hmm.
B2C, I think, with all the QCom and ECom bringing that comfort to customer, it is a very, demand is there. You just need to ensure that you are keeping your ops really top notch.
And for you to break into a market where you have already established players like a Prestige or a Bosch or a Faber, how do you get in?
Well, when we wanted to do consumer, we did not say that this is the product I want to build, right? We went to all these homes and started seeing what's happening in kitchen, right? I think best way to build a business is don't go and ask the customer what problem you have, because then only the stated problems come out and everybody is listening to those stated problems. If you solve, you are doing as good as what everybody else is doing. We need to solve the unstated consumer needs, unmet consumer needs, right? For which they feel that, hey, they never knew that solution like this exists. When we went into the homes, we saw that your stoves and chimneys and everything have been untouched for decades, right?
Means
Let's look at your
unchanged. Yes,
unchanged.
right.
If you look at your living room, I'm sure you're a millennial kid. You'd have seen a CRT TV, black and white, or
Of
maybe
course.
color with antenna on the top in your childhood. Today, it's no more the same, right? You have OTTs working and stuff like that. But if
Yes.
you look at your kitchen, it's been changed for a long time.
Maybe not the fridge. That's all, I
A
guess.
two-door became a four-door,
Yeah, and it
or
became connected probably.
connected, but not like 99.99%
Of course.
fridges are not connected yet. Samsung has done one product, but that's also just the fringe of it. Maybe microwave has come into India, but it was not designed for India product. I think
Right.
air fry is one product that has come, but apart from that, it's like
Yeah.
really the
No,
same.
I think the stove, and like you said, it's very right. It's basically the same.
Yeah. So we said here, matlab, there can be something happening because the consumer has so many worries and problems and troubles. And why isn't everybody else solving? I don't want to call out brands, but everybody else in this industry is a trader. They go to China, they buy stuff, they sell it in India, right? And China never innovates for India; they innovate for the American and the European market. Like, let's look at chimney, right? Chimney is a product which is supposed to take out fumes and smoke from your kitchen. If you're buying any of the leading brands or any brand's chimney, doesn't do a great job. You still can smell the paratha smell in your living room when your cooking is happening. You can smell the burnt ginger that is coming. You start coughing. So chimneys are never designed for Indian use case because the European chimneys are structured to take out just steam out. But Indian cooking has oil fumes, has aromas, right? I'll give you a very simple example. When you cook any Italian or European dish, you don't burn your garlic, you brown your garlic. But in India, till people, it's called burnt garlic fried rice, right? You want to, and जब तक चार लोग खाते नहीं, you don't feel कि कुछ मजा आया खाने में बनाने में आज, like मसालादार दमदार cooking होता है हमारा. So the chimneys have to build for that. Uh, Same if you look at any B2B kitchen, right? It never has happened that you went to a date and kitchen smell is coming to your dining room. It never happens because the chimneys are designed so well, right? So we got that inspiration and he said, hey, how can that form fact, how that technology, but a consumer ke ghar pe, how can a chimney do a great job? So we built the Orion chimney. And another emotional connect which we were trying to establish or trying to understand is, look, today's lady or woman is very empowered when she's cooking. And I'm using women because 90% cooking is done by women. They feel left out on life when they're cooking. They feel here my husband, my family is watching Netflix, playing with kids. I am cooking. At the same time, she does not want to give up cooking because she feels it's her responsibility to cook for her family. So then we said, yeah, something is missing. We need to connect that. So what she does today, she listens to podcasts like yours. She listens to music. She watches movies. She watches some cricket match on a mobile phone or does something. Imagine your grandmom when she was cooking, she used to listen to radio. That's the equivalent, right? They don't want to get left out on life. They don't want to get productivity lost. So we gave an infotainment entertainment system in the chimney, right? We said, okay, we created an entire atmosphere where you can listen to music, watch podcasts, watch movies, and all that stuff. Think about it, right? We made biryani machine possible. We made automation for sandwiches, pizzas, burgers. You press a button, the machine layers your biryani, gets it out. And for us to do technology at that level with image recognition, with robotic arms is so easy. But we said, let's put a display on your chimney, right? But it's not that simple, right? It's the solution might be putting a display on your chimney, but the end result was a consumer. Today morning when she wakes up, she listens to bhajans. She has LPG reminders on her chimney. The chimney automatically orders groceries for her. She's able to not miss her IPL match, which is very important today. And trust me, people love serials. Whatever we know that OTT and all that stuff, people love the Saas Bahu serials. They love to watch it in my chimney. And that's when we felt that, hey, we have a product that the customer is able to use because the functionality is great. And we have been able to build an emotional connect with the customer because, it does like a lot more than just
Just
the
a chimney.
suction for her. Correct.
Yeah, I mean you're treating the kitchen as a space rather than a just an area where some functional things are done, and
Absolutely.
that makes sense. I also guess watching recipes would help too, because nowadays a lot of people, like when I'm cooking also, I'm like looking at YouTube recipes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That probably helps.
You look very, very, very right. I think we should do consumer research with you next. But people always felt watching YouTube or Instagram is a broken experience when cooking. Yes, it does work, but can it be better? So we built Chef Connect, which is the Google Maps equivalent. Today, when you go from one place to another place, you don't ask people, "Bhaiya, kahan se jana hai?" You just open your Google Maps and you just go. So we
Right.
built Chef Connect, where we work with top chefs to help you cook great recipes in your kitchen. Think that you want to build. What's your favorite recipe, Avira? Like, what's your favorite restaurant or food?
My favorite recipe. Oh, my favorite restaurants or cuisine is Asian.
Restaurants, food, Asian. Okay, say
Asian.
you want to, which say Thai gravy, right? Say
But
let's say
I would cook aglio olio spaghetti.
you
So
want to
let's
cook
go with
aglio
that.
olio.
Let's
Let's go
go
by
with
that.
that.
Okay. So you are cooking it, and say the chef of one of the finest restaurants is standing next to you and telling you,
Hmm.
well, now you add little more water. Okay. Now
Hmm.
you reduce the flame a little. Now you increase it. Leave
Right.
it for 3 minutes. If that amount of support is done, you're still cooking it, but your dish comes out so good.
Right.
Now, what if we do it digitally? What if the
Hmm.
chimney is able to watch over your cooking and use the chef's expertise
Right.
to help you cook great food? And that's possible today, and that's what we are doing through our chimney.
Fascinating. And I'm assuming you're using technology to differentiate between what's being cooked, like dal or chole, for example, detecting pressure cooker whistles and things like that.
Yeah, I think then we did the stove. Stove, I think, is like a standard. Every house has a stove. Um, so I think we took a two-pronged approach here. One, how can we give a lot of functional benefits, like whistle counter, right? The stove will listen for the whistle and automatically turn off. Like you're doing chole, you want 5 CT, 5 whistle. Today, trust me, when I've been to people's homes, इस बात पे लड़ाई होती रहती है. I told you to count. You said 3, नहीं तो 4 हो गया. पानी खत्म हो गया. खाना खराब हो गया. Now you don't ask me and all that stuff. So we just give a whistle counter. It listens for the whistles and automatically turns off. Uh, we gave a timer. You put 6 minutes in my home today. 6 minutes for milk, half-liter milk. 6 minutes it turns off automatically. Enough malai and no overboil. Right? It's as simple as that. The second functional, apart from functional, we started working on the safety aspect. Whenever I used to go out, whenever we go out from my home, my dad used to say, "Gas band kiya ki nahi? Was the cylinder off or not?" The cylinder was off or not, because it's such a big. It's like an atom bomb sitting in your home, right? Kabhi bhi, matlab, unfortunately, in India, so many explosions happen because of fire accidents happen because of gas cylinder explosions and stuff like that. Car has so many safety features, primary and tertiary, secondary, tertiary, like airbag se leke, ABS, everything is there. But your kitchen doesn't have. So we gave something called flame failure device, FFD. So what happens is, for some reason, I will say if there is milk over boil or water felt over or something happened and the flame turns off, or say you turned on your stove but forgot to turn on, ignite it. Right? Today gas is leaking, but in our stove, it turns off. No flame, no gas. And this works totally on mechanical concept, doesn't need electronics, doesn't need battery or power connection, anything. So it's like a 5-star safety product for you in your kitchen, where we hope that it is never useful to you, but in case it is useful to you, it prevents a fire from you. So safety aspect and functionality is what we are focusing on. And I think none of these large brands do this. None of these large brands, I'm sure they will start doing now because of what we are coming up with products, and the market is moving our way, which is very exciting. I did not feel in my dreams that this is the kind of scale we would get. I thought it will be like maybe 5 years before we get to 100 crore, but maybe 1.5 year we'll get to 100 crore kind of a mark.
Very, very fascinating. And how are you looking at, refreshing products? Is it more like the old way where you replace every 5-10 years, or it's like the iPhone model where, every 2-3 years you refresh? How does it work?
So two things, all our products are IoT connected. So every 6 odd months you get an update, 3 months, 6 months, depending on features. Chef Connect keeps getting smarter on your chimney. Right now, because today is Ugadi, we have a Ugadi theme. Right on your screen, it wishes you Happy Ugadi or whatever festival, depending on your city, because the chimney knows which city you're in because of Wi-Fi. We also give you menus. Hey, this Ugadi, try and cook this. Ugadi songs. So that's a very connected approach. Apart from that, I think what we're also trying to do is launch at price points that become attractive to consumer. Today, the best selling chimney in India is around 16,000-17,000 rupees, and ours starts at 18,000 rupees with all the features I'm telling you, all the connected displays, cinematic speakers, and all that stuff. Now we are trying to say, hey, can we build products for people who are okay at 14,000 rupees, right? 15,000 rupees, not the same product, but the product that can still feel great, right? Like Kia does a hatchback, a sedan, and a SUV and a limo. So maybe we have an SUV, can we do a sedan or a hatchback kind of a model right now and capture a bigger market? That's how we are
Very
thinking about
interesting.
it.
Very interesting. And on the hardware side of things, you are not importing, like you said, you're not a trader. You're building in India in Bangalore.
Yes.
How?
Interestingly, in HSR,
Yeah. Okay. How does this help the business economics? Obviously, there's the IP protection, but in general, uh, it's probably more difficult to do this both operationally as well as from a capital perspective.
good thing is over last 8-10 years, we have been able to really get into our DNA on how to build hardware at scale, how to iterate fast, how to break things and do it. Things we still import stuff from China. Few like 10-15% of my BOM. When I say BOM, the bill of material that goes into a product is imported because India doesn't make microprocessors. India doesn't do some of this stuff. We don't have that capability at all. But so that apart from that, I think rest all is available in India. You have a very robust vendor ecosystem. Uh, you have very good supply chain experts that are available. That's available. But to think about it, Aviral, is I think where we initially did wrong is to think about our production like what a Toyota or a Sony or any of these large companies would look like, right? They said, okay, let's build for efficiency. Initially, when we launch a product, we don't build for efficiency. Say my first batch of chimneys were 100 units that we made, right? We did not, counterintuitively, we did not produce all 100. We did 10. We sold them. The rest 10 were just assembled. But some feedback we got, the next 10, we changed it, right? We didn't, we iterated in the 100 units, we had 10 iterations, 7-8 iterations, which nobody does.
Interesting.
And that's where hardware companies fail.
Right. They don't
They
iterate
treat,
fast enough.
correct. You need to treat hardware as software. Let me give you an example. Say you ship software, say Zomato shipped their district app. Within 1 week of launch, they did a software update. 1 month, they did a software update. 3 months, they're doing a software update. But hardware, once it leaves your factory, it leaves your factory. Right? You can't go to every machine and keep changing stuff. You can't keep changing parts. So we have been very mindful of that. We said, yeah, we should not make 100. We should make 10. If possible, I would even make 5. Ship 5, see what the customer is saying. Then the next 5 you update, right? That's one part. I think the second very non-intuitive thing which we do, for some reason, I don't know the full form, but we call it AIC internally. We seriously don't know how that name came. But what we do is once we ship our first 100 units, before we ship our next 100 units, second 100, we go back to each and when 100, the first 100 units, and we do a field upgrade. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. Think about going to everything and doing that upgrade. So what this enables us to do is launch very fast. We don't wait for perfection. We say, yeah, this is good enough. We sitting in a lab can't do a lot of stuff. Let's ship. And using these 2 tools, right? When I say 2 tools, one is on the assembly line iteration and at customer upgradation. We have for some of the products in B2B done 3-4 upgrades in the field. But once we do that in a very short time, we're able to get out to a product which is very stable. You need to marry product stability with what the customer wants. And a lot of hardware companies spend a lot of time getting their product stable because it's very difficult. You need to spend 2 years, 3 years. We do it in 3 months. Today, Philips won't launch a product without, say, 2 years of R&D. Bosch would do 5 years of testing because they want it to be as stable as possible before they launch. And they can afford their conglomerates. We can't afford that because we need to go and do things fast. At the same time, keep the customer in mind. We don't want a shitty product to be in the customer's place and keep failing every day. So we do this iteration and on-field service, and we have very strong playbooks on how to do this.
India is a very price sensitive market. That's what everyone says, although I understand their value seeking. How do you sell something that is more expensive than the highest end? Like you mentioned, the chimney 17K and then you start at 18.
Uh, so the insight I got was, I when we were thinking to build the stoves, I was going to all this, Marwadi dukan where they sell these stoves, right? I used to say, "Ki bhaiya mujhe yahan pe baith ke dekhna hai aapka, nothing else. I'll not do anything. I'll just sit and I'll not interfere. I'll just sit and see what happens." That was fine with it. So I saw a couple who came. They wanted to buy a Prestige stove, and this guy. Then the whole negotiation. Normally they say ki itna hai. They say this, that, and all. So this couple came, they bought it for, this guy said 9,000, then they negotiated to 7,000. And before going, the guy was telling the wife, ये 8 बोलता भी ना मैं दे देता पैसा, अच्छा है कि साथ में दे दिया इसने. And this kept happening. That's when I realized it's not that the customer doesn't have that extra 1,000 rupees to pay. They have it. But can you demand that value? Can you show that love for the customer? Ki yaar, this is worth that money for them to upgrade. Right? You can't upgrade a 7,000 to a 14,000 product. That won't happen. But a 7,000 customer can definitely buy a 9,000 product. That was the thesis in which we started.
Right.
So when I say you're in the market to buy a stove and there's a Prestige at 7,000, I come and say it's an 8,500 product, but it has flame failure device, it has your timer, it has all these bells and whistles that count for you.
Of course.
There's a very high likelihood that you would pay for that.
Right. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Philosophically, do you think the joy of cooking is getting killed with this?
Not really, right? It is improving. Say many people love to drive cars, right? We are not doing the equivalent of a self-drive car. We are saying we are going to give you ADAS features. We are going to give you, lane departure warning. We are going to give you early collision warning, and then your driving experience really improves. See, you are driving cautiously at 90, you don't mind hitting the pedal to 120 because somewhere the car will sort of not fail that much because it's very reliable, robust, has all this. Similarly, when cooking, we are saying that, you do the cooking, we'll do some part of it to help you enjoy your cooking experience. When you play music while cooking, your experience just goes to next level. Just try it next time.
So that's a good one. Where do you see Beyond Appliances in 5 years?
See, I think we will definitely see a lot of competition and headwinds because a lot of brands might start copying. For that, we need to be a meaningfully fast, innovative company. So we would continue to really sit with consumer and understand what the consumer wants and start building out for the consumer. That's a very big moat we would continue to do, and that would ensure that at least the spaces where we touch, we should be able to be the top 4 or 5 players, meaningfully top 4 5 players in those kind of spaces. We have started with kitchens, but there are a lot of India only products where it demands a lot of innovation, where the consumer is demanding features, products, solutions, but none of them are hearing. So I think those are the places where we would play in.
And what sort of scale are you thinking? So you mentioned 100 crores in revenue, maybe in 1.5 2 years. What is your target metric?
See, like any other entrepreneur, we would definitely say that, hey, can we build an IPO and stuff like that? That's definitely on the cards. But I think what's more interesting, what will be more satisfying for me? Of course, the business should be good. Maybe it's a 3,000 or a 4,000 crore business. I think that's fine. But what is more important is, can we build a Philips or a LG or a Samsung equivalent from India? Right? I think that would be much more satisfying for me as a founder to have built something that is spoken on the same language, the same sentence.
That's a good ambition.
Like China has the Xiaomi, the Huawei, the BYD. equivalent of global, and I'm
Right.
sure they're kicking their ass like anything, right?
Yeah.
Can we
Correct.
do that? Can we do that? Matlab, let's give a shot is what I feel.
Wonderful. It's a it's a very good ambition. And just to close out, and why we call this Founders Unfiltered, what's some unfiltered feedback you received? Like one thing, brutal, honest, that changed you professionally or personally in your journey as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So, Dosamatic is a fantastic product. You think, you press a button, the machine batch drops batter, spreads it, sprays oil, peels it, and rolls it off. It's a very great to see product, and everybody loves it. It's a very good media product. Matlab, media loves to cover it. But then there was somebody who advised me saying that, hey, you want to build a Dosamatic for your own case, but does your customer also want it? When I say customer, the B2B customer, put your hand on the heart and try to figure out, is that what they want? Right. So that's when I started moving from full automation to semi automation. Our first biryani machine was fully automatic, right? You had a robotic arm, you did so much. It would measure how many tej patta to put and put it. It would do a lot of stuff. But that's when I got this feedback saying that, do you are you building it because you want to build it, or is it because the business and the customer needs it? Then I re-changed everything. I said, yeah, check it, check media, check everything, build for your customer, right? Our second biryani machine, which we built, and of course is like a hero product for us right now in Mukunda, where it doesn't do 90% of the biryani. It just cooks your biryani rice well. And trust me, that's the most difficult part to get in a biryani right. That's what every chef does. And we said the machine is not going to marinate the meat, not going to layer it, not going to do any of the jazzy stuff. It's going to cook the really high quality rice well, right? Think about it, right? A bunch of engineers being said, just cook rice. You'll be like, Are, kya hai? Matlab, we can do AI, ML, image processing, and you're asking me to cook rice? What nonsense. But we said, let's do that. And that became big. So I would say, don't build for the jazzy and the jargon stuff. Build for your consumer. Tone down your features is what I always tell hardware entrepreneurs.
Tone down your features.
Yeah.
That's a good quote to close this. Thank you,
Okay.
Ishwar, for your time. Really enjoyed the chat. I think you're building something quite inspiring and hopefully a Philips or Samsung, not too far away.
Hopefully. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Aviral. Thank love being here.